approve the agreement as presented.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from the board members?
Donna, do you want to just give us a brief overview of what this is, please?
Absolutely. We've worked with Safe and Civil Schools on and off through many years. They focus obviously on student management, but they also have a strong focus on attendance. And Randy and Jessica Sprick are the leaders of that particular company. The state of West Virginia brought Jessica in to meet with all the state attendance directors. I had several folks at that particular training. They asked if we could bring her back for all of our attendance committee, teachers, staff. We'll probably have 100 to 125 people that she'll be with us working on ideas that are nationally approved, and also some things that we haven't been able to do. So we're working closely with that, and we're very excited to bring her to us.
Thank you. Board members? Hearing no questions, all in favor of the Safe and Civil Schools Agreement as presented, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Superintendent?
All right, item B is our copier lease with Ford. Superintendent recommends that the board approve the lease as presented.
Need a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you.
Same one as we've had in the past, correct?
This is new.
No, this is a new
This is
company.
new.
New company.
New company.
I thought that's
Absolutely
Yep,
new
this is
company.
new company.
New to us, and was very competitive with their bids, and thoroughly vetted by Chris Urban and Nicole, and myself to a lesser extent.
So will the employee who's been running that because that will be changed?
That has still not been decided. I did bring that question up because prior times, the different companies that we've worked with have kept the same employee. I don't know what this company, how this company operates. So that is a question we still don't have answered for that person. That's an outside contract by the companies, it's not our employee. It is a person that is hired by the whatever company is in charge.
I mean, I'm just
Sure,
asking because they have
sure.
the relationships and
Absolutely.
the knowledge of exactly what we need and when we need it and all of those things. So is this a comparable rate that we're paying right now, or is
Oh,
this
it's less.
much less? Okay.
It is considerably less, and what they did is a very thorough investigation of every site and what size copier you need for that site. It's sometimes hard to know that unless you go right to every particular site that there's a copier and see how much usage there is, and then do the size of the copier based on that. It's always a concern that sometimes we're oversold on the size of the copiers, but I believe in this case, we're very satisfied that it meets the standard for every site, because they went to every site. So, again, if we find it vary, then of course we can make an adjustment and get a bigger copier, or even a smaller one for that matter.
And I'm sure we'll get that information very quickly.
We will.
That will be.
We will.
Okay. Hearing no other questions, all in favor of the Ford copier lease as presented, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. I couldn't get Rod Snyder, Saturday Night Live skit out of my mind as I read that. But, Superintendent, I digress.
All right, our last contract to look at this evening is the transfer of interest in the Pierpont facility. The superintendent recommends that the board approve the transfer of interest as presented.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Superintendent, just a little information?
This is our building at MTech. If you remember, we actually own the property, but we had made an agreement with them years past they use the building, basically. It was theirs to use. I spoke with we had interest in getting it back. There's a lot of things we can do with it. We need the space. They weren't hardly using it. And I spoke to the interim president there before she left, and her and her board also had interest to give it back to us. So we were able there was a negotiated repurchase anyway in there. So we just wanted to execute that, so it'll be our building now, and Pierpont
We need it.
Pierpont won't have any interest in it at all at this point.
So is our interest in with MTech or the rest of the school system? I mean,
It's for everyone,
Everything.
but primarily MTech will get the most use of it.
That's what I mean.
Because
So
it's
MTech
right
will
there.
benefit from
But we
us.
can also use it for some training opportunities, and we have to bring staff in for certain things. It's a lovely facility,
Yes,
and
it is.
it's been underused. So we're thrilled to be able to have it in its entirety.
Is the $320,000 that we paid them, how did that come about? If it was our building, or was it their building on our property?
Nicole, do you want to talk about the arrangements originally?
Yes, so what had happened was the agreement was that our maintenance department would build the
We
Pierpont
built the
building.
building.
Yes, and so they paid for the cost of the materials
Right.
and the labor. And so I think when we looked at it, it was around $350,000. But as part of this agreement to buy it back, what they've done is they've taken the net value, they've taken the cost of it minus the depreciation. So the remaining amount due to them is the $320,000.
And part of the agreement was they needed to pay us yearly for custodial services, and again, so that was an expense that they had to incur every year to pay us. And again, I'm not sure their usage was sufficient enough to continue for them to make those payments. And plus, we've been very anxious to have this for a while.
All right. Okay, all in favor of the transfer of interest of Pierpont facility as presented, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, the same. Superintendent?
Okay, we're down to our awarding of contracts. The first one is our child nutrition produce contract. Superintendent recommends that the board approve the contract as presented.
Need a motion?
I'll second it then.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you. All in favor of child nutrition contract for produce, signify by aye.
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 Opposed, the same. Superintendent?
Right. The next item is also with child nutrition. This is our milk contract. Superintendent recommends that the board approve the milk contract as presented this evening.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions?
And there really isn't anyone else to bid on this, other
No.
than the vendor we've been using.
Right, and I think if you look, Brian has included with all of these the bid tabulations, so you can see who has bid, the prices, and all those kind of things.
And
So,
we had actually sent it to Gallagher as well. We only know of 2 local vendors that could possibly provide our milk, and United Dairy was the only one that had responded. Now, Broughton, we used to use Broughton as well, but they've been bought out by United.
Okay. Hearing no more discussion, all in favor of child nutrition milk contract, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Thank you. Superintendent?
our next one is our child nutrition field trip food boxes. Superintendent recommends that the board approve the contract for field trip food boxes as presented in your executive content.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
And again, you can see the bid tabulations there.
So, okay, so the name at the top is who got the bid, because that's what I was
Yeah.
trying to figure out. Some of them you had it highlighted in yellow, who got them.
Yeah.
Okay,
They-
so it's this
This bid
multitude.
packet was actually sent to 5 vendors, but we only had 1 response.
So it's this multitude
Altitude Foods.
Have they done it in the past?
This is actually something
Something
new that
new?
we're going to be
This is
trying.
new for us.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
All in favor of child nutrition field trip food box, please signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Superintendent?
Okay, we're down to our consent agenda this evening. Superintendent recommends that the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, I need a motion.
I move we accept the recommendation.
Let me read those items for the record. Item A is the expenditures exceeding $3,000. Item B, supplements and transfers. Item C, budget supplements and transfers addendum. Item D is the payment of salaries and accounts payable. Item E is our Lamar contract renewal. Item F is our Suttle and Stoniker engagement letter for Gaspee. Item G is our Medicaid billing agreement with Marion County Schools. Item H is the Mountaineer Job Challenge with terms and conditions. Item I are our field experiences. Item J is the WVU Applied Human Sciences Strength and Conditioning Agreement. Item K is the Marriott Agreement for the UHS Prom 2024. Item L is the fiscal year 24 EPIC MOU for bus operator training. Item M is the fiscal year 24 EPIC MOU for interventionists. Item N is Power School's Smart Find Express Agreement. Item O is the Early Head Start April 2023 monthly report. Item P is the Early Head Start May 2023 monthly report. Item Q is the Head Start April 2023 monthly report. Item R is the Head Start May 2023 monthly report. And item S is the minutes.
I have a motion from Mike. I'll second that. Board members, any questions or comments?
I do have a question on number 23 of the consent agenda, because I thought we were not using that particular facility anymore.
Are you talking the items over 3,000?
Yes, items
Okay,
over
I'm sorry.
3,000, I'm sorry, number 23.
Sorry. Pull that up.
It's for the Prairie Avenue properties,
Oh,
for the
yes.
annex.
Well, yes, for this time, we are still utilizing that room. It's, we remodeled that room.
Yes.
For the express purpose of using it for meeting rooms, and of course, we've had some board meetings there. But space is a premium for us for all the different things that we have to do, requirements. And so right now, and we're waiting on the Excel building to be completed. Once that happens, we'll have some additional space at the Westover Annex for meeting rooms. Right now, we're serving students there. So I believe that because we're just so needy in having extra space, that this is still something that we're using. But Nicole and I have talked about it, and at some point we will have to step away from that room. And we're still working on our spaces here to backfill.
Okay, so you just need that space until we get all of the movement
That's my intention.
completed.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the consent agenda as presented, signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. Thank you. Superintendent?
Okay, item 7 is your Board of Education meeting schedule for 2023-2024. We wanted you to take a look at that this evening, and if you were willing to approve that, I will recommend that the board approve the schedule as presented. I know Teresa and I and Donna all looked at that schedule and tried to work around the traditional things that we work around with Thanksgiving and Christmas
Yes.
and New Year's holidays, and tried to make sure that we covered all of the things that we needed to cover in there as far as making sure Nicole had all of her stuff approved and all that kind of stuff. So we think it looks good unless you all see something different.
I just have one question. I know that in the past, in the pre-COVID world, we had meetings at different places, like maybe Morgantown High or University High. Are there any plans in the future for that now that kind of post-COVID world? Or
I would just say, just from our perspective, the difficulty is that we can't take this equipment
right.
to live stream our meetings. We'd have to have a different system, something that we could carry around with us. So I wouldn't say that we would never do that, but we're just getting things up and running here. So as far as the near future, I went ahead and scheduled all those meetings to be held here.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
there are special meetings that we've had where we felt like we needed to go to bigger venues or things of that nature. So
Right.
those things are always still a possibility, and there's always ways that we can work with Danny and his group to figure out ways to continue to live stream.
Well, even if we tape it and show it later, because I do think we've lost a little local flavor. We used to go to Clay Battelle once a year or Mason-Dixon. We
That was our
used to
traveling
be,
roadshow.
It really was, but I think it let the folks in that area showcase things they were interested in. Their students were able to do a musical number, or they could take us on a tour of something they felt was special, and I think it made people feel more connected to the board and to the administrative staff and the work that happens. So I'm with you.
Yeah.
I would much prefer to be able to go once a month or once every 6 weeks or 2 months somewhere, because I do think that people feel even though we have a lot of people that like to watch this and replay it later, there still is something about being in the room when some of these things are going on. So, and the other thing is, and I asked Teresa, we had special hearing dates are not all on this agenda, because I know the second week of July we're scheduled to have a hearing that's not listed here. So
Yeah, that's you're talking about the personnel hearing?
special meeting,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah,
special.
yeah, yeah.
That's why I'm saying though.
These are just your regular board meetings.
These are our regular meetings,
Yes.
so I guess I just wanted to say that, because I think people think, well, then this is it. But this is not it.
Yeah, that
This
would be
is the
very
beginning
difficult
of
to
it.
put all those on.
This is-
Because the hearings
So-
bounce around and change so much.
And the hearings do jump around and change so much.
And-
But I
and-
wanted to confirm that, yes, we are still on the
Yes.
docket for that hearing, so that didn't have some kind of conflict occur.
And as always, we will do everything we can to respect the board's
Tuesdays.
question, or, their request to not schedule meetings outside of the Tuesdays. So we always try to do that for you, and this schedule reflects that as best as possible.
I think we booked the
Very
retirement
much
dinner
appreciated.
too.
Yeah, and you've
Oh.
already got the retirement dinner on there, I saw
And we
that.
have it booked, and we have our venue, and so we're ready.
The ball.
That's a good thing. I think that's a very, very good thing. I'm all about that. Because it's just easier if people expect us to be doing things on Tuesdays, including our families. So I really like actually the format of this calendar, because it shows us all the start and end dates, the early dismissal times, all of that people frequently ask us about. So my only request will be, would somebody print one of these for me so I can hang it up in my house? I like paper, I'm sorry. But
I agree with that.
it's very helpful.
We will have hard
I'll
copies.
tell you what, if you all approve that tonight, I'll bring you all back a hard copy next time.
Laminated.
That's so nice.
That would be lovely.
And laminate, Ron wants them laminated. So
Okay.
We'll get them laminated.
We've got a laminate.
Don't you have a printer?
And
in your
Nancy
house?
wants magnetic.
I'm not asking for anything special. I tape it underneath my calendar in my kitchen. It's just so
Maybe
much
we can get it
easier.
autographed by the secretary.
No.
We don't have one yet.
We don't
I'm
have-
sure that can happen. I know. No,
I didn't get
my
a motion
printer
yet.
at my
I move
house
that we
is-
approve.
fights with me.
Mike?
Like every.
Yeah, I'll
Second.
second that.
All right.
She had a great idea.
Got a
my
motion and a
issue.
second, so we can start a conversation.
It's too late.
I was out of order as.
But it was discussion
Control.
action, so.
Okay,
Yeah,
well, that was
kinda
plenty.
like-
All right, well, good. All in favor of the proposed, or the 2023-24 BOE meeting schedule as presented, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Any board member updates?
None for me.
I'll
None
have
from
a,
me.
I'll do a quick one on the MPO. I think I spoke last time about the sub-allocated funds that the MPO now controls a little bit of money, which we've never in the past. And so, for example, Town of Granville could come forward and say, we have this project, whatever, and we have half the money. The MPO can give the other half and get the project done without the state being involved, not without the state having to be involved. But the application for those projects was what we were stumbling over, because, you know, you wind up with, here's all this group wanting this and that. So anyway, long story short, we wound up with Citizens Advisory Committee and Technical Advisory Committee will vet all the applications and make a recommendation. Then it comes to two policy board members to either agree with that or not agree with that. And so what we wanted was disinterested groups. So it's WVU, because we don't have any highways, Board of Education, doesn't have any streets or highways. So the Board of Education is one of those two, and WVU is the other one. So we will be able to vet those applications, and if, just for the sake of explaining it, if we both agree on what the advisory committees then goes on through, if we can agree, then it goes back to what the advisory committees would come up, and then it goes to policy board. So I made that a long-winded, but anyway, point being is the Board of Education has a little bit of, itty bitty bit of clout. So anyway, that's, and the rest of the stuff, most of it was in the newspaper, headlines and stuff covered, so I don't want to bore you tonight with that. That's all I have.
So can I ask two questions, MPO questions? One is, so is Mountain Line one of those interested? Is there someone
No,
represented them on the group?
No,
Because they
well,
don't own roads either.
The problem with everybody else that's on they have, like Mountain Line, can apply for federal funds to help with busing
Okay.
and all that. So what we were looking for is somebody that has a disinterested side of it. You know, we don't own any streets as far as the Boards of Education.
We
So-
can't apply for federal funds for
Right,
roads, is
right,
what you're
there's
saying.
nothing that, but if we did in the future, then, you know, I would step away from it and somebody else would step into that position. So it's not like we're out in left field, but we just wanted another check and balance on those funds. But we've never had any funds available to us in the past. The only thing we could do is veto. If the state wanted to do something, we could say, no, we're not going to spend any federal money. We cover the federal money, but we can't say where it's to be spent. With this sub-allocation, this last go-around, we do in fact now can help, you know, the local use money, so.
And my second question is, will the mile ground be done in time for school to start?
It's supposed to be, no, whether it is, it's pretty well,
I mean, they're working up there all the time, but, you
Yeah.
know, it's just
Easton Hill
periodically
part, I think. is
not
gonna be-
working.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I'm not gonna be silly enough and say yay or nay on that one, but, I personally am glad that it's as far along as it is and it's been working along. It's gonna be so much better once it's all opened up.
because did we have trouble with Summer Sizzler or what's Summer Avalanche doing for the run? I guess is what I guess I'm a logistical question about how are we
Yeah.
managing.
Tony and Jason and the staff there, they have made alternate arrangements. You're right, that's been a difficult challenge all year.
Yeah,
but-
especially down at the bottom of Easton Hill when they
Absolutely.
started filling all that in, but should go better now. I mean, it's squeezed down to 2 lanes now, but I think,
I think their challenges actually are behind them, because taking one of those buses down Easton Hill, I mean, it was tight.
yes, it was.
So I think it's actually better now. No, we've got all our bus worked out for Summer Avalanche, and actually it's much more concise than it was. Again, we've learned how to do it really well over time.
I think it'll get better, quicker now as
Yes.
opposed to in the past.
I just want to say really quick, I have a friend with some children in the TSA at UHS, and I believe they're in Louisville today for a competition. But I got to go to their little open house last night, and they are doing the coolest things. I can't even, like, makes me feel old because this stuff didn't exist. But the 3D printed jug band frogs that play music and the board games that they created and printed with a printer that etches the top of the box that they made, and a replica of a I think they said assisted living facility, and a book that they had to write about that encourages children to become STEM teachers. Like, just the coolest things ever. I hope that when they get back, A, I hope they win everything, and B, I hope that they get to come show it to all of you, because it was really cool.
What you
And I
meant to
saw
say is-
them being assembled, so I didn't really get to see the end results of some of them, but it was really neat.
What you want to say is when they win everything.
When they win everything.
Is
They
it
need to
middle
come-
school or?
Whether they win or not, they need to come show us, because it's cool.
UHS.
It's
Yeah,
high school,
University
it's
It was the
UHS.
UHS high school group.
Yeah. I had no idea what I was walking into. The mom just texted and said, "Hey, come look at the project." Okay.
It's a cool
Coming.
program.
But I was amazed. I was blown away. And Jeannie Wheeler does incredible things with those kids. So
Because I know that Dr. Campbell had the 3D printers and things in the classroom we went to at Sal. So
We
is
have them
that,
everywhere.
that's,
We have them in every school. We're using them in Summer Avalanche. You should see the things that North is doing with those. Reminded me of that. They made a dragon. The things they're making with this, again, flower pots and you name it. It does.
I took a picture of the frogs. I'll show you after. But
Yeah.
literally, they're using some part of the challenge to make the frog play the accordion. Like, it's just really cool. They reminded me of the Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. I don't really know what it's going to look like when it gets fully put together, but they even stitched a little patch that had their TSA logo on the frog's overalls. It's really cool.
Those 3D printers are just amazing.
It is
We use them in the racing side. We'll 3D print something that we can't purchase, no longer available kind of thing.
Right.
And then we make it from there. It's pretty neat stuff.
can,
Kind of impressive.
some of the things from either the TSA or Summer Avalanche, can we actually bring some of the physical things to see? Because I know we usually get a video
We
and
do,
an
we do
update
that.
and all that stuff, but, I still think we're just as hands-on as the kids
Absolutely,
are.
yes. Yeah, you'll be amazed. We did a training with our administrators on all of the things that are going on at different schools because they don't get to see all of that. And honestly, it was beyond amazing to see elementary all through the system. Certainly our program over even at MTech and what they're doing with the robotics, all of that. It's amazing. So sure, we'll bring those in. Those are, it's,
We like that stuff.
yeah.
All right, superintendent policies.
Okay, we have 3 policies to introduce this evening. So, first policy is 2230.01, Program of Study Middle Level Education. Again, this is for introductions. Jennifer, what do we need to know about this one?
So 2230.01 and 2230.02, which is the next one, these are both reflective of updates to West Virginia Board of Education Policy 2510, and this is just to be consistent with the language in the state policy. So it's just updated to reflect that current language.
So can I ask, why did they take childhood out?
That's what I was going to ask too.
Because early and elementary learning is now what it says.
Yes, I think it's just a terminology change that they had.
It's a little,
Doesn't flow real well.
no, it does not flow well.
Any other comments? So both of this policy and 2230 or that .02 are consistent, and I think we can cover them both with this one conversation.
And we'll bring those back to you for first
Go-
reading
go ahead.
at your next meeting.
Okay, I want to
Go
talk,
ahead.
I want to ask about the high school one
Okay.
specifically. So if we want to do something different or additional, do we do that by the procedural part of this? Or do we, I mean, I understand we may not be able to make it a graduation requirement, but I think I mean, consistently, I think you hear people talk about, and I realize this will change maybe when we're able to have the Renaissance Academy available, but they always talk about people don't know how to sew, people don't know how to cook, people don't know about tools, people don't know about any of those things anymore, which was part of, probably for most of us when we were in middle or high school.
So
So-
these say they're just minimums. So it says they're offerings of minimums. So we
Yeah.
can offer as many as we want, but these are the minimum offerings that we must have on this.
And I have nothing against souped up academics, but I think some of this hands-on stuff, it seems to be, I don't know how the other board members feel. Do you hear the same thing consistently from people? That they're concerned about that? And I know we have a lot of electives, and I know it's kind of different for different schools, but I'm just curious if that's a community concern, how do we, or is there just not time to do it?
Well, I guess specifically, I mean, I'm not sure about exactly with the tools, but, you know, they have added a class at the middle schools that is an opportunity to learn more about careers and to, you know, widen some of that you're talking about, hands-on experience. But I know, do we have anything like I think I went through or you went through, the state did not, I mean, they took that away from us. So we don't have that explicitly. And yeah, we can't even they don't certify teachers in it.
So in other words, if a school offered it or a child took the course in it, what would that be considered, a club? Because they really would not be able to get, I understand, any academic credit or recognition for that activity.
Now, a lot of the things that you might be referring to that we're seeing in the new flex schedules, because our teachers are so amazingly creative, as we've seen in Avalanche, but they're doing that now. Gosh, I reviewed the list that Morgantown High offered, and the teachers there had advanced, I don't know, hundreds of different offerings. Same thing at University High. Our middle schools are starting to replicate that. South's going to do that this year. They're going to run that flex schedule so that the students have an opportunity and the teachers have that opportunity to do something that, you know, really is something they know and can do. And it could be, see, some of the things you're talking about. Somebody that really wants to sew, a teacher that's really good at that, or doing something of that nature. We offer a myriad of those things at these high schools because, again, there's so much talent out there in our own staff. It's amazing. So we do it that way, but not through a state program.
I mean, and I understand we do a lot of it in Avalanche.
Oh, yeah.
That's actually how the courses for Avalanche are created, more
Absolutely.
through teacher interest areas, and then they try to tie, you know, math to golf or, you know, speaking to something, some other kind of academic pursuit. But I just think, just as an example, I know at the plant that my husband, he brings people in and they lay out tools. I mean, and it's so simple, and I'm sure Ron might be able to attest to this, as a hammer and a saw, and people don't know what they are. A screwdriver. I mean, they honest to goodness do not know what they are, which is surprising because I think a lot of people used to learn that at home or learn that different ways, but we all learned it in, school, quite honestly. So I just wonder how we can help to graduate more well-rounded individuals, I guess is what I'm kind of. Because I know we all love academics and we push academics, but some of this other stuff is a life skill that you may use forever. So, okay, done with that, sorry. I know, Ron's on this 53-minute.
I'm all right. No, that was just, I just based that on the
The format, yes,
appearance
I
of the
know.
agenda.
You're on track,
So,
though. You're doing
I'm
good.
not in a hurry.
Everybody needs a
I got all
hammer.
my- So, all right, so superintendent, let's go ahead and move down to C then.
Yes, we can do that. This is policy 2261.03, the district and school report card. This is for introduction. Jennifer, what do we need to know about this one?
This update is a result of an amendment to the state policy 2322, and it updates the state requirements for the public reporting of the report cards for Title I schools. So if you look down at section P, it talks about what the district has to do to publicly report the annual findings and report cards on this. It also adds 2 additional legal citations on it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? What was that?
Do we not do some of this anyway? Or is it mostly just on websites? It's not on,
It's mostly on the websites, but Title I has to distribute, we have 4 Title I schools this year coming up, and they do have to distribute this information at their schools. Again, that's part of the federal regulations, and the state mimics that, and then, of course, we have to as well.
should we not just do this at all schools? Just for asking? Would it
Well-
be easier just to do a blanket everywhere?
We do in the accountability standards. Now, we don't have Title I data to report at
No.
those schools, but we really, this is all wrapped up in the accountability standards. And we do get reports on all of that. That's how schools are identified for extra support or extra funding. I think we talked about 3 of our schools that are in the process of that right now. That's where Camp Elevate was really a strong factor in our teachers learning more different strategies, and they were working with their peers doing that. So, yeah, we do an accountability report on this.
I guess what I'm asking is it more difficult to have this set of standards and things that have to be sent out for those particular schools, or just do it for everybody? I mean, none of this stuff's, I think actually it would, to know who's on the LSIC, to know who the business partners are officially. I mean, I think this is not bad information to have. It just, I don't know. So I guess I'm just being.
Well, I'm happy to look at this some more. Right now, everything I see, I think we are reporting on. Now, again, on the sort of state report card thing, it does list like the names of the board members. That is all part of, one general report, and I think we do that really at every school. I'm trying to see if there's anything here that I think that just title does. Everything else, but I'll look into that, Nancy, for
I
sure.
mean, I'm just curious as to if we're trying to get more people involved. I keep thinking this is all stuff that may be valuable.
Any other questions? Okay, superintendent, let's do some hiring.
All right, we will go to our personnel then.
We're gonna have some.
I'm going to recuse myself because my daughter is on this list for the summer programming, so I will go away.
I don't have any changes to the personnel list that you were presented with in your executive content. So with that said, I'll ask that you approve the personnel list as presented.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the personnel list as presented signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Aye, Ted.
It works. All right, next is our addendum for personnel. Again, I don't have any changes for you this evening. Superintendent recommends that the board approve the personnel list addendum as presented.
Okay, need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the personnel list addendum as presented signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same.
So, how many positions do we have since this is personnel?
Professional, Bob, what are we looking at?
I mean, we got resignations,
Well,
retirements.
that
so-
changes hourly.
Yeah, I mean, I know.
At
we've
this
got
time
the-
of the year, it's just a constant between filling. We'll probably have the best part of 20 to 25,
Okay.
but I'm sure tomorrow that'll go up a couple more. Just waiting for a few more recommendations, so it's... If it's an
Service.
elementary position, we're still getting 25 to 30 applicants for every elementary position.
But secondary,
But the secondary, depends on the position, but you might get as few as 2 or 3 that are certified. We'll always get plenty of applicants, but not necessarily people that are certified.
And we desperately still are looking for good special educators and for speech and language teachers right now.
so, and then I know we're trying to do a recruiting effort.
We are absolutely doing recruiting. Teresa's been a big part of that. Mike Ryan has headed that up for us. And we've actually hired some folks from those recruiting trips this year. Now, I think it's only a couple, maybe 3, but that's a great start, that individuals from other states that would not have necessarily considered us, now they've decided to work for us.
Thank you.
And Jennifer, Nancy had asked about service.
Currently, I just pulled up, we have 49 job openings right now. 11 of those are service currently.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we move into executive session for property.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
Bob, you can go release your personnel list.
You make a lot of principals happy.
I think we can
We can
stay
stay
here
here.
because there's nobody
So
here.
this teacher,
He can shut down. Danny, you can take us off.